A triumphant Eagles chant rang around a packed Optus Stadium as the West Coast players came from the ground. The Eagles were on their way to the grand final. And it was only halftime. Such was the latest surreal twist in West Coast's remarkable season, that will now culminate with an MCG date with Collingwood on the last Saturday in September. It feels disrespectful to call any game at halftime. Tell that to the fans who got out their phones during the major break yesterday and booked a trip to Melbourne. Yesterday was no ordinary day, and one look at the 10.9, 69 to 0.66 halftime scoreline confirmed that. It was the first time a VFL/AFL team had gone goalless in a final since 1927. West Coast eased home over Melbourne 17.13, 115 to 7.12, 54, with the 66-point win just 1 point more than the margin when these teams last met in a preliminary final in 1994 at the WACA ground. On that occasion, home wins over Collingwood and Melbourne set up a premiership. West Coast touched up the competition's best contested ball team in the clinches when it mattered, and they were awesome in transition. Josh Kennedy's 4 first-half goals were pivotal, and he and sidekick Jack Darling, 3, combined for 7 majors as the Eagles extended their perfect record this season when the key forwards play together. Liam Ryan put in a great game against Melbourne. Picture, Getty Images. Kennedy faded in the second half, but the damage was done. Jamie Cripps capped his excellent season with a superb display that included 24 disposals, 3 goals of his own, while the midfield effort was spearheaded by Jack Redden, 31 possessions and a goal. Superstar Melbourne ruckman Max Gawn played with his lower right leg bandaged, and despite controlling the hitouts against Scott Lysette and Nathan Vardy, was a shadow of the player who destroyed the Eagles in the round 22 game at the same venue. It was 27-0 when the game began, and it was obvious early the jittery Demons couldn't stand the heat in the kitchen as the Eagles held them goalless in the opening stanza. It was a dream start for West Coast, and it got better and better throughout the first half. Though they would have liked to have converted more accurately than 4.8 in the first quarter, any worries failing to convert opportunities would soon dissipate as the Eagles kept creating more. Mark Lekras, who finished with 3 goals, and Liam Ryan also had goals, disallowed amid the early carnage, as the Eagles' pressure allowed them to feast on a string of forward half turnovers. This looked a lot like stage fright from Melbourne, whose entire team were playing in their first preliminary final apart from Jordan Lewis, who brought a stack of big game experience from Hawthorn. And he wasn't blameless early either. Watch, Jack Darling's 3rd goal of the day dribbled through to extend the Eagles' lead. If the first quarter set the tone, the second ended the contest, and with it a shell-shocked Melbourne season. Kennedy booted 2 goals in the first 3 minutes of the second stanza, before his run-down tackle on Joel Smith provided an exclamation mark. Then came time for some party tricks. Ryan soaring mark and goal. Lekras scooping the ball back from the goal line before clipping the ball with an accidental backheel to register a major. When you're on, anything goes, and when you're not, nothing works out. At the other end, Charlie Spargo was presented with a 50 meters penalty to finally kick the Dees first, and he sprayed it. Not a high-possession team, the Eagles had 41 more disposals in the first half and still put on 12 more tackles as they opened up a devastating 63-point lead by the main break. Clayton Oliver eventually opened Melbourne's account to start the 3rd term. The Demons managed 4 goals for the term to show there was at least a pulse. The Eagles got another 5 to show they weren't ready to put the cue in the rack just yet. Defender Liam Duggan proved that with his run-down tackle on a hapless Mitch Hannon in the shadows of three-quarter time. There was nothing to gain for either team in the final term as West Coast looked to nurse a 10-goal lead. It might as well have been the first quarter of 2019 for the disappointing Dees, who will have a long summer to think about the day it all went wrong. Watch, Eagles forward Liam Ryan completes another trademark flying mark at Optus Stadium in front of a packed home crowd. West Coast 4.8, 10.9, 15.10, 18.13, 121 MELBOURNE 0.3, 0.65, 97.1355 GOALS West Coast, J. Kennedy 4, J. Cripps, M. Lecras, J. Darling 3, L. Ryan, D. Venables, M. Hutchings, W. Rioli, J. Redden. Melbourne, J. Melksham 2, C. Oliver, M. Hannon, J. Smith, J. Harms, S. Wiedemann. Best, West Coast, J. Redden, J. Cripps, J. Kennedy, S. Hearn, D. Sheed, J. McGovern. Melbourne, J. Harms, A. Brayshaw, C. Oliver, J. Viney, C. Petrarca. Injuries, West Coast, McGovern, hip, shui, ankle, umpires, Matthew Nichols, Ray Chamberlain, Simon Meredith. Crowd, 59,608 at Optus Stadium.